I think we will be over 100K. I usually don't make price predictions.
Yeah.
What's catching my eye is the shift in attack patterns.
They submit back a code. The code has a virus in it to try to penetrate the network, right? It is actually a risk for them to disclose who managed those keys and how they manage those keys. I do definitely trust Eric, but we never give that information out.
Usually the project don't want any external teams to touch it, to see the source code.
So I think CertiK can definitely be trusted, but we're only at the beginning of tapping the AI powers. AI will be weaponized, both in terms of hacking computers.
Actually, I think that's even more challenging, this trust gap.
So what is next for you now?
Oh, it's very simple. I'm only doing two things. I'm working on the Giggle Academy education platform. I'm probably one of the few guys in the world who have this opportunity to do and willingness to do this, and I'm in a position to be able to do it.
And you forgot one thing. This. Just remember. Hi everyone, my name is Nikita Sachdev and I am so excited and honored to be conducting this exclusive interview with two absolute legends. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I have over here Eric Gu, co-founder of CertiK, and of course CZ, former CEO of Binance, and a man who literally needs no introduction. But thank you so much for speaking with me. I want to just dive straight into it because right now marks such a monumental moment in time for all of us who've been such advocates in this space, because Bitcoin is about to hit 100K. It is flirting with it a little bit and teasing us. But I wanted to get your thoughts on what is the driving force behind this surge.
You want to go first?
You should go first.
All right, take a step. I think there's U.S. is probably the main driving factor in this bull run. I think BlackRock alone pushed in $47 billion. I think it was $44 billion a day ago, and today is 47. So just last day, they're pushing $3 billion into crypto, into Bitcoin. And then there's many other ETFs too. So institutional participation is really strong. Coupled with Trump being elected, he is very pro-crypto. So I think there's other use cases. Meme coin, you can call it a use case or not. But I think U.S. is really driving this round. And then if with U.S. leading, other countries will have to follow. So there will be a race. So I'm pretty, I think we will be over 100K. I usually don't make price predictions.
Yeah.
But I think this case is pretty certain.
We're literally at 99.5 on the way here. So
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty fair prediction to make. But what about you, Eric?
One more point about the cut of U.S. interest rate and also the expectation of the further cut of the interest rate.
Yeah, I think you guys are right. Like for the first time, we actually saw both presidential parties being so involved in advocating for crypto. And there is a saying, when America sneezes, the whole world catches a cold. So I guess you can see this as a ripple effect of America's adoption. And then Gary Gensler, of course, resigning, right? Like that was a massive factor as well. But I wanted to talk about security because Eric, you're a pioneer in crypto security. And this year in 2024, in the first half of 2024, we've seen more crypto hacks than ever, with over $2 billion amounting for losses. So what do you think is causing this?
Well, the year of 2024 has been marked by many cyber attacks, leading to more than $2 billion financial loss, as you mentioned. And this definitely highlights how important, this cybersecurity, code auditing remain in the blockchain industry. Here I want to first bring one positive news. That is, actually the smart contract attacks have decreased a lot because I would say more companies, more projects, they pay more attention to, let's say, code auditing, and they will work with some external firms such as CertiK, to audit their code. That indeed got improved. But as you mentioned, compared with last year, the amount has been increased. And why, So what's catching my eye is the shift in attack patterns. We have we're seeing more and more projects got hacked due to, let's say, poorly key management, due to insider stress, and so on. And it's likely that the attackers also involve their playbook as industry matures.
So this is interesting. So what you mentioned was we've seen a decrease in smart contract hacks. So meaning it's not the decentralized systems, it's more of the centralized systems that are being hacked within the crypto space?
Here's the thing. So for most of the complex Web3 dApps, actually they are a mix of both Web3 part and the Web2 parts. Web3 parts are just smart contracts, right, deployed on various chains and so on. And well, Web2 part include, let's say, the key management and other backend services. So we are in a stage that people realize, well, we need to do code audits for the Web3 part, but for Web2 part, is still at a very early stage. Many of our clients, many projects still feel like, well, that's not necessary. Or I can understand that in some cases, they don't want to share, let's say, the source code for the Web2 part, for the key management part. That also makes things more challenging.
It's very interesting. I know, CZ, you had a couple of questions as well for Eric.
Yeah, I think, well, just to add on a little bit on that, most people talk about security thinking about system security or network security or smart contract security, but security is much broader. I think Eric defines as Web3 versus Web2. It's one way to define it, but even your human employee security, social engineering, even your office security, or how your business is structured, all of those things affect your overall security. So it's not just system security where people focus very narrowly on. And then in this industry, we've seen that the attacks getting tremendously sophisticated, right? So we had guys who interview for technical jobs, and when we give them some work to do, they ask them to write some code. They submit back a code. The code has a virus in it to try to penetrate the network, right? So this kind of attacks, and then it's crazy. So so security is much broader than just an audit.
You're right. It's like 360-degree views. Like sometimes what we don't even understand, that the security breaches could be coming from our own talent, from internal, it's not technical forces.
It's internal, external. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And also it's kind of like. If there's just one, let's say, single weak point can compromise the entire system.
Yeah,
that's the most scary part.
So yeah, I do have some much sharper questions. So with this debate about you audited some part of it, the Ethereum part, but not the Solana part or something like that, what happened?
Well, security is a whole thing, and only audits or only do security assessment to one component usually is far from enough.
I'm curious, in a situation like this, like who's actually responsible then for an issue? Because you're focusing more on the Web3 component, but we were talking that this security is 360 degrees. So what do you think?
Yeah, well, I would say that cybersecurity is not a competitive edge. Actually, it's a shared responsibility. So first of all, we definitely need to audit most of their Web3 part, like all the smart contracts deployed on different chains. That's necessary. And then come to the Web2 part. That part is tricky because, for example, for this key management system, usually the project don't want any external teams to touch it, to see the source code. That's indeed increase the challenge. We offer penetration testing for this key management system. We do it for many wallets, for many exchanges, and so on. It helps. It helps, indeed helps. But again, it's very limited.
Yeah.
But if, let's say, if they are willing to share this piece of code with us under some conditions, we will have a much bigger confidence. I can give you one example, like RigSec. RigSec is a company providing key management systems for most of the licensed companies in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And they give us their source code. We do not black box testing. Actually, it's white box testing and auditing. And it helps a lot.
Yeah.
Another example is Ant Group, who own the Alipay, right? So we help them secure their so-called hyper enclave. They give us source code. We not only can do code audit, we also can do formal verification. We formally verify the implementation of their hyper-enclave system, and that result has been published in S+ 2024, a top-tier CS conference.
Okay.
So I would say at that stage, we'll have a much bigger confidence. Yeah.
So for example, right, for a exchange operator or any centralized exchange or any even decentralized exchange where you have multiple people managing keys, it is actually a risk for them to disclose who managed those keys.
Yes.
And how they manage those keys.
Yes.
Because that information, the more people who knows about it, the more risk they are.
Yeah.
Right. So I think CertiK can definitely be trusted. But for when we work with security firms, so if it's a new firm or even like as a principal, we don't like people to know who the key holders are. Right. There are multiple key holders. They're spread all around the world. Sometimes we even have to disclose this to regulators, and we don't like that. Right. So because we've seen many government systems being hacked, right? So the more people, it increases physical security too. So it's not an easy challenge to solve. But without being able to audit that, even if you audit it, then people may get a virus on their computer, and multiple people get a virus on their computer, then the multiple keys can be compromised. So, but that part is more like a best practice for security policies, right? You use a dedicated computer or a device that's never connected to the internet.
Yes.
But it has to be connected when you sign a transaction, but that's it, right? So that part is very non-standard. So I don't know how you audit that, or do you have a best practice?
Yeah. So actually, CZ mentioned a very important piece in the cybersecurity. That is the best cybersecurity. The best protection is isolation. Yeah. Actually, try to build the isolation. Try to reduce the kind of like this connection with the external world as much as possible. Yeah. So that's definitely the best practice. In terms of the let's say private key management, get back to one of CZ's point, well, what if your device has a virus, right, and so on. Well, so that's why these devices and hardware companies build TE, the trusted execution environment. That's where, let's say, your fingerprints information, your face information are stored. We call it a trusted world. It's a world running in parallel with the normal world, executing the other applications. So as long as your security information is stored in TE and they are properly managed, properly interacted, then these secrets, well, is well protected. But, well, kind of like in the past 1 year, we got acknowledgement from Apple 6 times. We are selected into the Hall of Fame by Samsung, right? And also we are acknowledged by many kind of like wallet companies, exchange and so on, because we find that for many of these kind of like systems, they didn't write the code that interact with TE correctly. So although there's a hardware protection there, but they use it in a wrong way, so the information can still be leaked. So that's also our strength. And then in general, for key management and so on, well, there's still no golden standard yet. And we try to push forward the best practice in the industry. But of course, if the client like CZ trust us, give us, let's say, more access, more code design, more implementation details, we can level up the security level.
So just for clarity, I do definitely trust Eric, but we never give that information out for the key management part.
Yeah,
but that's the company policy.
Yeah.
Even I'm no longer involved, but that's the company policy.
Eric, I also wanted to know more about your background working with some governments, some Hong Kong and Singapore governments. What was your involvement there?
I served as an international advisor for MAS, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, for 2 years already, and also served on the Hong Kong Web3 Task Force.
Would you say you had a stance in kind of shaping the regulatory framework there, or kind of what did your role involve?
Yeah, I would say that at least I'm involved, and I can provide suggestions, feedback, and so on. So I have to say that both government that I deeply involved was, they are very open-minded, I have to say. And they indeed try to talk to experts in the space, try to collect their feedbacks. For example, like Hong Kong just released their draft, I believe, for stablecoin compliance framework.
After their ETFs.
After their ETFs, and from that draft, you will see the acknowledged CertiK that we provide feedback, and they adopt 2 of our suggestions there. And Singapore, they even have already issued the stablecoin licenses, right, to Paxos, one of our clients. So I would say, well, it's a great experience to work with these government officials and staff members, and to see what's in their minds and try to provide support. And I'm glad to see that we help or contribute a little bit to the involvement of Web3 regulation and compliance.
Yeah. Well, on that note, CZ, I wanted to ask you, we spoke about the political landscape right now in the States, but apart from Trump coming into office, what are some of the other political and macroeconomic factors that you see could affect the crypto market?
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on in the world, right? So I think we've seen that regulators try to compete a little bit with each other. I think the earliest ones probably in Asia was probably Japan legally recognized Bitcoin as a currency in 2017, and then had a exchange registration framework. And then Singapore came a couple of years afterwards, and then Hong Kong wanted to one-up them. So we saw that competition going on in Asia. And in this region, in UAE, in Bahrain, there's a little bit of friendly competition as well. Now with US being pro-crypto, there's going to be some really interesting dynamics, I think. For example, many US innovators were leaving the US, and some even in Japan, leaving Japan to sort of innovate elsewhere. Because the first draft of Japan's regulations limited the number of token listings very restrictively. So there's no NFTs, there's no DeFi projects in Japan. They missed that wave. And now they've changed it. Now they've opened it up. So now the listing exchange can decide what to list. Hong Kong is still having a relatively restrictive listing framework. So we'll see how that changes. So before, with all the US government doing regulation by enforcement, we see a lot of talent moving out of the US. And they came to Abu Dhabi, to Dubai, to Bahrain, Singapore, a number of places. But now with this new administration, with Trump being pro-crypto, I'm seeing that a lot of people are moving back, which actually creates some challenges for other countries who are trying to attract talent and this industry. So now there's somewhat of a talent drain for the rest of the world, relatively speaking.
Compared to the UAE?
Compared to like before.
Oh, okay.
Right? So now the question is, for other countries, how do they compete with you? US wants to be the crypto capital now, again. And US has a lot of power. It has a talent pool, it has the VC money, it has this whole entrepreneurial culture. It has a very long tradition. So now for other governments or other regions, they have to think about how do we attract that talent over, right? So now this is a good competition. This is what people should be doing. This is what will encourage innovation. So I'm definitely seeing that dynamic playing out now. So I have talked to many countries, senior leaders in many countries, and they're all thinking about, now the US is trying to pull this industry back. How do we retain the talent? How do we grow local talent? So that's a great problem to have. So so we're seeing a lot of developments in different parts of the world, which are all in my view, very positive for crypto as a whole.
And I mean, you've traveled globally, you've been everywhere, but you've spent a lot of time here in the UAE. Do you feel that the UAE will continue to be at the forefront? Is it at the forefront?
Absolutely. I absolutely think so. So from the regulators, senior leaders, politicians, ministers I spoke to here, they absolutely, and they all taking, number one, they have the mentality to say, look, we absolutely want to make UAE the crypto hub in the world and continue to lead this industry. And they're also acting very quickly in support of that. So the good thing about UAE, for example, is the decision making is very quick and the execution is very smooth. So there's not a whole lot of debate going on. Whereas in a democracy, there's more debate going on. So the deliberation process is longer. But what we've seen with this election is that the American can adjust, right? The previous administration was regulation by enforcement. Now, but having democracy can adjust over time. So even though the past 4 years was pretty painful, but hopefully in the future things will be better.
You know, we've been talking about regulatory frameworks kind of tight, like I guess being more clarified, and that means more institutions coming in. Is this a good thing?
I think so, absolutely. I think the more, doesn't matter if it's institutions or not, the more people will come in, the better. Ideally, we want all the retail to come in first, and then the institutions come in, so then the retail benefits. But you know, the retail had 10, 15 years to come in. And now the institutions are starting to come in. And the institutions, when they come in quick. Like the BlackRock ETF was only approved for a few months, right? It's not even a year old. And now it's got $47 billion now. So that's a lot of money. And we can see the price rising corresponding to it. So I think any participation is good. The good thing about blockchain, Bitcoin, crypto is the retail guys had the opportunity to come in. They can still come in later, which is fine. So I don't think it's a bad thing. The more people who participate, the better. We also need institutional service, right? So the institutions will provide liquidity, will provide more professional price discovery, hopefully. So yeah, so I think it's the more people to come in, the better.
Yeah. It's a good middle ground. I think you always need like a bridge to facilitate. I don't, like personally, I don't think we can like overnight be a complete decentralized Web3 world. I think that the institutions are like a good bridge towards that.
Yeah, I actually heard many people saying that, well, CZ made the biggest contribution to the wide adoption for cryptocurrency. Well, I totally agree with what CZ just said, that we definitely hope more and more people can join the space, can enter the space. And so we also actually work with many companies from traditional industry, like many big banks, for example. And when they reach out to us, actually they want to discuss with us about how they can do business in this space. And well, I would say at this point, all the players in this industry, we should work actively to bring them into the space.
And onward and upward from there, I'm curious to know a little bit more about your $45 million investment plan. So I've heard a little bit about that too. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, we launched CertiK Ventures this year. The market is not as hot as it is now, so we really want to contribute to the community. So we're definitely gonna invest lots of early stage projects. We're gonna invest in the ecosystems that we believe in, like the Say network, like the WeMix, like Kia and so on. These are our portfolio, and we're gonna support themselves and their ecosystem. And beyond that, I would say that we want to invest in companies that can help us expand our coverage to enhance our cybersecurity capabilities, like the tools for developers, like the on-chain monitoring systems, like let's say some testing frameworks, all these kinds of stuff. These are our target. Yeah.
Interesting. I keep circling back to AI because I'm like completely obsessed with this industry now, just how I got obsessed with crypto in 2017. I really feel a strong thematic, and even if my bag's all AI meme coins, but but I'm curious, like, how do you guys feel about the AI space?
I think AI is a very fundamental technology, just like blockchain. Right, so it's another big area for this technology to evolve, and AI can do so many different things. 10 years ago, AI was customers bought this also like this, what we call sparse metrics recommendation engines, and now it's language processing engines. So now you can kind of predict the next word. But I think we're only at the beginning of tapping the AI powers. AI will be weaponized, both in terms of hacking computers, or even analyzing enemies, etc. So, and AI will also be used for defense against those type of attacks. So, and AI will be used everywhere in blockchains, in biomedical research, etc. So the actual application of it, I think we're just only at the beginning. But now, because of ChatGPT, they sparked a lot of interest, a lot of money is flowing into this area. So yeah, for me personally, I am investing in AI in addition to Web3 and biotech, etc. So we'll see. Well, I think this is going to be a big industry with a lot of impact.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, totally agree.
Totally agree. I mean, you did, CZ, have a massive contribution to that movement. I mean, if you think about it, you built one of the largest tech companies in the world. So what is next for you now?
Oh, it's very simple. I'm only doing two things. I'm working on the Giggle Academy education platform. And then I'm doing investments. And then on the investment side, if you look at the subcategories, there's only three categories. There's Web3 blockchain area, and there's AI, and there's biotech. So it's very simple. Yeah.
Tell us more about Gig Academy.
So Giggle Academy is, there's about 700 million adults who are illiterate. 2/3 of them are women. And then on top of that, this is, depending on which report you read, there's about 300 to 500 million kids who are not in school. And these are all in fairly relatively undeveloped countries. They're poor, there's no infrastructure, there's no school, there's no teachers. But I think with the technology we have today, and we have proven with our initial release already that we can make education content that are super sticky for kids that deliver through a device, through an app. We no longer need the teacher to be there to deliver the content. We no longer need the parent to be pushing the kids. We can make the content sticky enough. So Giggle Academy has already released about 17 lessons. And we first wanted to start with a 12-year-old who's not in school, but then they're all at different levels. So we said, like, grade 1 English. Even grade 1, 6, 7-year-old kids, they're at different levels. We said, okay, let's move earlier, 2-year-olds. So 2-year-olds, to keep them focused on an app, there are different ways. It's actually not that difficult. What we found out is all we need is a little bit of cartoonish animations. So what the teachers are good at is producing PowerPoint, but that's not, and then the teachers will have to deliver it. That's not good enough to keep the kids without a teacher, the kids will not stay looking at PowerPoint. But if you have what we have is a little rabbit called Max, and the ear moves a little bit, and the eye winks, that's enough. But the teachers don't know how to create that. So this first 17 lessons we created using like animators, graphic designers, video engineers, etc. Going forward, I want to create a tool using AI to help the teachers make this. Then any teacher can create this level of content that can be delivered using an app. So far, I think we've proven that it can be done. So the delivery doesn't need a teacher. And then it's just a matter of producing all the content. Once we produce all the content, then we can deliver to everyone digitally. And then there will be further problems down the road, device access, device and internet access, etc. We'll solve those problems when we get there. So I think that if we can help teach, educate 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, maybe 1.2 billion people in the world who don't have access to education today, that impact over 20 years, or 1 generation, 2 generations is going to be huge.
100%. I mean, to even think on that level, to be able to achieve something like this, it is so fulfilling to not just yourself, but to the whole industry.
And I want to add, we're doing everything is completely free for the kids, right? So there's no revenue model. We're not charging anybody anything. So I think, fortunately, I'm probably one of the few guys in the world who have this opportunity and willingness to do this, and I'm in a position to be able to do it. Today, with one app, we could deliver very high quality education content, but no one's making it just yet. Today, most of the educational apps are trying to supplement the schools, so they have a very niche focus, and they want to charge like $3 a month, and that turns people off, right? And they're very narrow. And when you're done with one app, then you don't go to there's no next one. There's no comprehensive one. And I guess many people don't want to overlap the content with schools. But I'm looking at places where there are no schools. So we just say, look, and I'm not trying to get the kids a high school degree. I'm trying to get them jobs. I want them to start working when they're 8, 10, 12, 15, 18, any age, they'll be doing different jobs. So hopefully they will make an income too. Then we can truly activate pay to learn. And then that will hopefully keep the kids in school too. So the kids' education is completely free. And it doesn't cost that much to make this platform. If you just think about it, right, the initial couple courses will be more expensive, but how much does it cost to create a grade 1 English course? $1 million? Fine. And on average, right? So 12 years, 12 million. 30 different subjects, 300 million. So it's not 0.3 billion. The US government spends 110 billion a year on teachers alone for 1 year. Right? So we're only spending 0.3%.
Yeah.
Of the funds. We should be, by my calculation, we should be able to create almost all the education K-12 education needs with that amount of money in a high quality that is sticky enough the kids will start to learn themselves without parents, without teachers.
What's the timeline for this?
Oh, I think it's going to be multiple years. I think we're starting from 2 years old now. Hopefully we'll stay ahead as this generation grows.
Yeah.
I think once...
When do you think it'll be live?
It's already live. We have like 5,000 users already, like real
that's
users.
Incredible.
Yeah. So we announced it about a week and a half ago. So
that's amazing.
It's pretty new. We announced it 2 weeks ago in closed beta, and then 1 week later we said, okay, let's take off the closed beta. And so it's available. You go to giggleacademy.com.
That's awesome.
Today it's only available on Android. We think the Android is the first device in many of these places.
Definitely.
We're targeting because there's many cheap Android devices. But 2 weeks later, I think we should have iOS as well. It's just a wrapper around it. So so it's available. Right now, there's only like 10 lessons. We have 17 lessons made. We released 10. We're adding more lessons. We're making more of them available. I'm trying to ramp up the team so that we can produce 3 to 5 lessons every week. And then we just hopefully, and then whatever's needed, I can scale. We just try to stay ahead of this generation.
Yeah.
And try to catch up to the other kids.
Education is the foundation to a successful future.
Yeah.
And does CertiK have any initiatives?
We hope so. I hope both CertiK and myself can be involved in CZ's new journey. And myself, I'm a teacher. I'm a computer science professor at Columbia University. So yeah, I'm more than happy to help.
Yeah, so it's all over you. Just last question. We've hit a cycle in the market where our non-crypto friends are calling us and asking us if it's too late to buy crypto. So what advice do you have for some of the newcomers in the space, and how can they ensure that they're safe and secure?
I need to go back to the spirit of decentralization. Right, so the decentralization and the design of a blockchain, right, is trying to encode business logic or all these kind of like operations into code without the need to rely on some trusted third party or trusted centralized party, and that's the spirit of decentralization. And that's why in this space people saying, well, in code we trust, or even code is law. But the thing is, well, for many retail users, they don't understand code. They don't understand smart contracts, the implementation of blockchains, and so on. For them, it's much easier to even trust a centralized party like a big corporate and so on, rather than trust code. So actually, I think that's even more challenging. This trust gap is more challenging than, I would say, cyber security and so on. So I'm afraid that, well, people view like CertiK as a scam, or other security firms as a scam, that, well, as long as you have the scam, we can trust this project, the code, and so on. Then it get back to centralized world, right? So I think the key to this is transparency. That's that's why we publish all our audit reports on our website. And actually, I'm not sure whether it's a good decision for CertiK, because many of our investors, many of my friends said, well, you should not do it because any of your small single mistake will be exposed to the rest of the world. And which is indeed the case. Like, well, whenever our clients like have any instance and so on, people will first connect it with CertiK because we have the reports published on the website. But I stick to this decision because I feel like, well, transparency is really important, and this can help us push forward the standard of CertiK and also standard for the industry. And we didn't just stop there, because I feel like this auditing report still, I would say, not that easy to access, not that easy to read. So that's why we built a Skynet website. We try to give more information on the website. These are all based on data, publicly available data, and try to make this data more accessible to retail users, so they can do DD, due diligence, by themselves, without simply saying, well, they trust CertiK or they trust any other firm, and so on.
So companies and projects, be more transparent with your information, and investors, do your own research.
Yes.
What about you, CZ?
My advice is a bit simpler. I think there's one simple concept called what's the right size, so sizing. Anything related in terms of investments, security hacks, etc. The worst case is your investments go to zero. If that happens, what would it do? What effect does it have on you, right? So if you should invest at the right size that it doesn't impact your life super negatively, and you can tolerate that kind of failure. If you think that if this investment doesn't go well, or there's a hack on there's a security incident for this protocol, for this decentralized exchange or this centralized exchange, and that's going to kill your life, then you're investing too much. If you reduce it to a certain point, at a certain point you will say, okay, it's fine, right? So and it should be just a little bit, it should be just around that area. Should be enough to matter, but not enough to kill you, to really hurt. So if you choose the right size, then everything becomes easy. Otherwise, you either you feel really stressed out if you're investing too much. The price goes down, you're really happy. Price goes up, you're really happy. Price goes down, you're really stressed out. Or if there's for God forbid a hack, then you're completely wiped out. Then you just unnecessary stress, and too little, you'll feel that you're missing out. So it should be just somewhere like finding that right balance. Having that right mentality and finding that balance will make everything so much simpler. And then don't worry about not making enough money because you went up a bit. Don't worry about okay, there was an issue, then you can restart. That's my recommendation in terms of risk control. And this is a very simple thing, but many people don't do it. I don't know why. But think about the right size of investment.
Yeah, no, for sure, that makes a lot of sense. And you forgot one thing. This. Just remember, just keep your head down, keep innovating, keep disrupting. But yeah, I mean, thank you so much, guys. That was really insightful. I really enjoyed speaking with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for CZ. Thanks.
My pleasure. Yeah.